Here we are at Montgomery Reef, and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's going to be a record tide today of about 8.5 metres, which will be about 2.5 billion tonnes of water will come off this 400 square kilometre reef, and it'll actually be the best tide of the year. So we're here at the right time, and all the other Zodiacs have just started arriving.
I think it's the best looking driver too. You might be right too. I know where you live, that's the only problem.
Mr. and Mrs. Eccles.
Hello. You're in for a real treat.
Oh, Kate.
Before I go any further, can I just read you out what the tides are today to really shock you at the mouth? Okay, so high tide at 11:35 was 9.9 metres. Wow. Low tide is 1.0 metres. So that is how much water is running over this reef today. Yeah, this is what it's going to be, folks. I really encourage you today to really to stand up and look around. You will find that if the drivers stand in their cameo, they know what they're doing. If they see you stand, they won't drive in a hurry. But you will find there is a bit of bumping around a bit. Later on we'll go up the river, which will be a bit calmer. But you will find that if you stand up, you will see a lot more. That's what it'll be like all day. You will see these turtles come up, drop down, come up, drop down. So look, now we're actually here at an exciting time. I shouldn't probably be talking too much, but right now is the time to see that because the water's dropping down so quick, we may be lucky enough to maybe see a turtle stranded on the reef, or maybe a fish stranded on the reef.
There was one. One just stuck his head up, just beside.
Actually on the reef?
No.
Oh, okay. Yep. So what's happening is because the tide is dropping, all of the turtles are trying to work their way off the reef to start feeding on anything that's been washed off the reef.
Oh, okay.
Now folks, this reef, Montgomery Reef, is 400 square kilometres. So I don't know, you do the maths, but if you've got 400 square kilometres and there's 5 or 6 metres on top of that, I mean my mathematics is not good, but there's many billions of water that are going to be coming off this reef in the next couple of hours.
400 billion litres.
400 billion, thank you Brett. So that's a lot of water. You imagine if you could harness that energy. Now I was here on a tide exactly like this one time, and we started to see the fin of a shark, and then within minutes the whole body of the shark was stranded on the reef. It was amazing to see. It was a large tawny nurse shark. So often animals will get stranded on this reef. So quite good to see. Now the thing is about this reef here is the largest inshore reef in the world. It is absolutely huge. There's a turtle that just came up and dropped just down there as well. So it is a huge reef system. Now to give you an idea of how it fits, it would take you all day to get around this reef system. Now how it all fits in, if you look straight over in that sunlight where the reflection is, that there is what they call Montgomery Island. That whole reef sits right around the middle of that. So that island in the middle is basically in the centre of the reef, and it goes right, so what you see here, from here to the island, the same distance again as on the other side. So it's absolutely huge. Now what is around the middle of that, reef, around those islands, is a very shallow water pools. And so for Aboriginal people, they would come across from Raft Point, go and basically hunt and gather, because you imagine all the fish and turtles would get trapped around the fringes of that island. It'd be quite incredible to see. So also to give you a bit of an idea, those islands over there on the other side of the reef to our left, they're the Kingfisher Islands. If you were out yesterday trolling with the lines, you would have seen those islands. We're on the other side of them. There's a whole lot of little islands just over to the right where the Zodiacs are sitting. That is the High Cliffy Islands. On the other side of those islands are basically mainland. Now, of course, where we came from today, that is Steep Island just over there behind us, and then you've got Raft Point just to your right, and there's a little island over there with a bit of sand on it. That's called Montgomery Island, and behind that is Walcott Inlet. So that's sort of where we are fitting. This is all encompasses what they call Doubtful Bay, so it's a beautiful large bay. But as the reef is dropping down further and further, I might stop talking in a minute. We'll just sort of drift along, or we'll sort of slowly go along the fringes there, seeing what we can see. Yep. Yep, plenty of turtles. So basically what's happening is there's two large rivers that sit either side of this reef. we're going to be going up one of those rivers because that's where most of the water on this side of the reef actually drains off. We're actually just outside of it here, but where the zodiacs are, we're actually going to go up the middle of that reef. So it's a great spot because most of the water that runs off the reef is all getting channeled down that river system. Now, as the tide is dropping, I've seen quite a few birds starting to come out. What you get a lot of on the reef is there's loads of reef eagles. Oh, what was that? Turtles. Yeah, they're mostly all green sea turtles just here that we're going to see. As the tide drops, the water will get a little bit clearer and we'll have much better chance of actually seeing them a bit better. You see how we're starting to go into the current here? As you're coming in here today, where those zodiacs are, there's a huge big sandbar that stretches out from the ship all the way to where those zodiacs. That's why we came all the way around and in, because that sandbar goes all the way along. But the current rushing off here at the moment is quite amazing. So what I was saying before is that at the moment, because the water is dropping very quickly, a lot of birds are coming out to the reef. You get the reef egrets, both the grey morph and the white morph. They're slowly working their way out. They're eagerly waiting for the tide to drop, because what happens when the tide drops? You get all these pools forming in there. And of course the birds just love it, because there's all these little fish that are stranded in the pools, and the birds just come along and start to eat them. So quite good to see. We'll see that as we go along. They do, yeah. They know, they've got it more worked out than what we know. Yep. I saw a few. Now what you'll also see as the tide drops is you'll see there's quite a few little rocks as well on the reef. So some people are mistaking them for turtles, but there are quite a lot of rocks there. So I think what we might do is just cruise on over without talking now, because it's good to watch it at the moment, and then we'll go up the river. So we'll cruise along. As the guys are going along, feel free to stand up if you like, just take it easy. But we'll cruise along and see. When you get to these areas where the current is just washing off, just be very careful in those.
Thanks,
Right?
Darrin.
That's
And
right.
Rex, what do you think of that?
Excellent. Looking forward to it.